On a sunny school day, a gaggle of kids clusters on the track chanting and cheering as they prepare to sprint. In their midst is a skinny, dark-haired boy wearing a Brightburn t-shirt, the kind of kid who always keeps to himself. When the whistle blows, the others dart ahead, jostling for position, and in the chaos, one of them deliberately bumps into him, sending him crashing onto the asphalt. Laughter erupts. He stays there for a moment sitting on the asphalt, his face flushed with humiliation. A girl with a streak of purple in her hair hesitates, then reaches out to help him up, but even she pauses, unsettled by the cold, unreadable look in his eyes. What none of them realize is that this wasn't weakness. The anger behind those eyes is something far worse than they could ever imagine, something not meant for this world. But to understand what that boy truly is, we have to go back to where his story really begins. Back to a quiet farm, and a night that changed everything. The story follows Tori and Kyle Breyer, a couple living on a quiet farm in Brightburn, Kansas, desperately trying to start a family. Their home tells the painful story, shelves lined with fertility guides, reminders of years spent hoping for a pregnancy that never comes. Each failed attempt breaks them a little more, but they refuse to lose faith. One fateful night, as they lie together trying once more, something unexpected happens. The entire house begins shaking violently. Confused and frightened, they rush outside just in time to witness something incredible. A glowing spacecraft plummeting from the sky, crashing into the field near their barn. They have no idea what it is, but in that moment, everything changes. Time passes, and we see homemade videos of a young boy named Brandon Breyer growing up on the farm. It becomes clear that Brandon is the child who arrived in that mysterious craft. Tori adores him completely, pouring all her love into raising him, while Kyle works hard to teach him good values and give him a normal childhood. As Brandon gets older, something begins to stand out. At school, when a teacher poses a challenging question, Brandon answers it instantly, his intelligence clearly beyond his years. A classmate named Caitlin notices him, perhaps intrigued by how different he seems. But there's something cold in Brandon's expression, something that sets him apart from the other kids in a way that feels unsettling. That evening, while Tori paints in the living room, Brandon starts sleepwalking. His movements seem almost robotic, as though something is pulling him forward. He walks straight toward the basement, where the spacecraft from all those years ago sits hidden away. When he gets close to it, his entire demeanor shifts. He starts speaking in a harsh, unknown language, his voice filled with rage. There's no trace of the innocent child he appeared to be moments before. Tori rushes downstairs in a panic. She shakes him awake, and just like that, Brandon snaps back to normal, as if nothing happened. But the damage is done. Tori can't shake the feeling that something is very wrong. The next morning brings another disturbing incident. Brandon tries starting the lawnmower, but when it won't cooperate, he picks up the heavy machine and throws it an impossible distance across the yard. Then, without hesitation, he walks over to the spinning blade and sticks his hand directly into it. The blade stops instantly. When he pulls his hand out, there isn't even a scratch. The truth is becoming harder to ignore. Brandon is not a normal boy. Later that day, the family gathers at a local diner. Tori, Kyle, Aunt Marilee, and Uncle Noah. The mood is light, until Noah playfully gives Brandon a toy gun. Kyle's reaction is immediate and firm. He makes it clear that guns have no place in their home, but Brandon refuses to give it back, his eyes burning with stubborn defiance. The atmosphere turns tense, and the family leaves the restaurant abruptly. A waitress working that night watches them go, sensing something strange about the family. The following morning, Kyle tries connecting with his son, but Brandon feels distant, almost unreachable. Then Kyle notices something deeply troubling. Brandon is casually chewing on a metal fork, his teeth completely unharmed. Fear settles into Kyle's chest, though he tries to stay composed. Hoping to bond with Brandon and address the changes happening in his body, Kyle takes him hunting. He teaches Brandon how to hold and aim a rifle, and awkwardly brings up adolescence after Tori found inappropriate magazines hidden under his bed. Kyle wants his son to grow up normally, but something very different is happening inside Brandon. That same night, Brandon appears outside Caitlin's bedroom window. He stands there silently, watching her as she listens to music on her laptop. Suddenly, she feels eyes on her. Terrified, she slams the laptop shut. Her mother, the same waitress from the diner, rushes in asking what's wrong. Caitlin is too scared to speak. Meanwhile, back at the farm, Noah and Tori frantically search for Brandon. They eventually find him acting like nothing happened, but doubt has now taken root in Tori's mind. The next day at school, Brandon's teacher speaks with Tori. Nearby, Brandon sits drawing disturbing images in his notebook, strange symbols, violent sketches, dark figures. When Tori asks what he's drawing, Brandon silently closes the notebook and walks away without a word. His emotionless reaction sends chills down Tori's spine. Back home, Kyle finds Brandon frightening the chickens. He gently asks if everything's okay. Brandon calmly says yes. They head inside together. But later, Tori and Kyle discover all the chickens have been brutally killed. Blood is everywhere. Tori assumes it was a wild animal, but Kyle, visibly shaken, points out that no animal could break through the door and tear off the lock. He doesn't finish the sentence, but they both know who he suspects. The following day at school, the class does a trust fall exercise. When it's Brandon's turn, Caitlin looks terrified. The memory of him watching her through the window is fresh. She refuses to catch him. Brandon falls to the ground, and though he's unhurt, a cold, disturbing smile crosses his face. The coach forces Caitlin to help him up. As she nervously takes his hand, Brandon suddenly crushes her wrist with inhuman strength. The sound of breaking bones fills the room. Caitlin screams in agony while Brandon's face remains emotionless. In the school office afterward, Tori apologizes to Caitlin's mother, calling it an accident. But the waitress isn't buying it. She demands Brandon be arrested. The sheriff explains that because Brandon is a minor, he'll only need to attend counseling sessions. During the entire confrontation, Brandon sits quietly in the corner, sadness on his face but coldness in his eyes. In anger, Caitlin's mother calls him the son of a psycho. Tori immediately defends her child, but as they leave, Brandon turns back and stares at the waitress, a clear threat hidden in his gaze. That night, the house feels heavy with tension. Brandon overhears his parents whispering about him, and he realizes even they have started to fear him. Tori, unable to sleep, begins researching meteors online, slowly connecting Brandon to the object that fell from the sky. Suddenly, she notices a strange glow coming from the barn. Panicked, she runs outside. What she finds inside shakes her to her core. Brandon is floating in midair, surrounded by the same otherworldly light from the spacecraft. He keeps repeating a terrifying phrase over and over, as though receiving commands from somewhere beyond. Tori slowly approaches. Suddenly, Brandon drops from the air, and his hand gets cut on a sharp edge of the meteor. For the first time, blood appears on his skin. Brandon is devastated. He screams at Tori, "I came from the sky! You've been lying to me!" Tori tries to explain, but Brandon runs off into the darkness. She quickly finds Kyle and tells him everything, that Brandon knows the truth about where he came from. Deep in the forest, Brandon runs between the trees, consumed by rage. Suddenly, a deadly red laser beam shoots from his eyes, slicing straight through the trees ahead. His power is now undeniable. Later, Brandon appears inside Caitlin's bedroom. She freezes in terror when she sees him. In a soft voice, he tells her not to be afraid, that she knows how special he is. Trembling, she says her mother told her not to talk to him. Brandon's response is chilling. "Don't worry about her. I'll take care of that." Caitlin starts crying. Brandon disappears, leaving behind a single flower. That same night, Caitlin's mother is closing the diner when she notices the same strange symbols Brandon drew in his notebook, scratched onto the windows. The lights begin flickering. Then, without warning, all the windows explode inward. A shard of glass pierces her eye. She screams, grabbing a baseball bat for protection. Something moves past her, too fast to see. She swings wildly but hits nothing. Terrified, she locks herself inside the walk-in freezer. But a burning red laser beam cuts through the steel door like paper. The door crashes down. Brandon steps inside. There's no emotion in his eyes. He lunges at her. The next morning, Brandon stands calmly before his parents and says, "Everything is fine. The situation has been handled." His voice is steady, as if nothing happened. But Tori and Kyle tremble with fear. At the diner, the sheriff and his deputy investigate a horrific scene. The waitress's body lies mutilated, and the same symbol from Brandon's notebook is carved into the glass. Later, Marilee tries counseling Brandon, but he remains cold and distant. For the first time, she considers calling the police. That evening, Kyle sits at a bar with friends, completely broken. He finally says the words aloud, "I think my son is a monster." Meanwhile, Marilee is home when the lights start flickering. Brandon appears, warning her not to talk to the police. She tells him to leave. He does, but later returns wearing his dark costume and hides in her closet. When Noah arrives and discovers him, he forces Brandon outside and threatens to tell his parents. But as they struggle near the truck, Brandon slams Noah violently against the garage door. Noah jumps into the truck and speeds away, but his vehicle starts malfunctioning, steering wheel turning on its own, engine cutting out. Suddenly, Brandon appears standing in the middle of the road. Noah screams. In the next moment, Brandon lifts the entire truck into the air and slams it down onto the pavement. The impact is devastating. Noah's jaw is shattered, his body broken. Brandon calmly walks over, kneels beside him, and uses Noah's blood to draw his symbol in the dirt. Then he walks away. Brandon returns home acting normal, claiming he was playing outside. When Tori asks about his missing shirt, he says kids were bullying him. Kyle's suspicion deepens. That night, Kyle has a nightmare. He sees Tori finding baby Brandon in the meteor and choosing to adopt him. But the dream turns dark as baby Brandon's eyes glow red. A phone call wakes Kyle. He and Tori rush to the hospital, where Marilee, in tears, tells them Noah is dead and that Brandon visited her house. Everything is starting to connect. The next morning, they tell Brandon about Noah's death. His only response, "Okay." Kyle accuses him directly. Tori tries to intervene, but Brandon explodes in anger, violently shoving Kyle into the pantry, destroying the doors. Later, Kyle finds Brandon's shirt covered in blood. When he tries apologizing, Brandon responds again with the same emotionless, "Okay." Kyle shows the shirt to Tori, but she still can't accept the truth. Meanwhile, the sheriff finds the same symbol at Noah's death scene, identical to the one from the diner. The next day, Kyle pretends to take Brandon hunting. As they track deer in the forest, the sheriff arrives at the house, showing Tori evidence connecting Brandon to everything. Alone, Tori finds Brandon's notebook filled with that terrifying symbol, sketches of him in his costume, the waitress with glass in her eye, dead bodies, and one repeated phrase, "Take the world." In the forest, Kyle raises his rifle and fires at Brandon's head. The bullet bounces off. Brandon turns, surprised. Kyle tries to reload, but Brandon vanishes. He reappears in his black costume, moving at lightning speed. He slams Kyle to the ground. Kyle stammers an apology. Brandon unleashes his laser vision, killing Kyle instantly. At home, Tori frantically calls Kyle. Brandon answers. "He's gone. I'm coming home." The call ends. Seconds later, Brandon tears through the house at incredible speed, destroying everything. Tori calls 911, but the line goes dead. The sheriff arrives, finding the house in ruins. Before anyone can react, Brandon attacks, killing the sheriff. Tori and the deputy retreat inside. The deputy is slaughtered. Tori escapes through a window and crawls to the barn. Inside, she grabs a sharp piece of the meteor, the only thing that can hurt him. She calls for Brandon. He floats in wearing his dark hood. Tori tells him she loves him, removes his hood. They embrace. She tries to stab him, but he catches her hand instantly. Furious, he grabs her and flies high into the sky. He looks at her one last time and lets go. Tori falls to her death. The next day, news reports claim a plane crashed into the farmhouse, killing everyone. Brandon sits calmly eating a cookie, his face blank. The final images show cities burning, buildings collapsing. Brandon Breyer has become a global threat. So what did you think of this dark twist on the superhero origin story? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this recap, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss more breakdowns like this. See you in the next one.